Hi guys, welcome back to Mandy's Corner Pub. Come on in, pull up a stool, relax, and let's check out Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. Um, Anybody that really knows me knows that I am a major Dean Koontz fan, but particularly of the Odd Thomas series. Now, for those of you that may not know anything about Odd Thomas is a series about a young man who has a very special ability. He has the ability to see the dead. However, most movies or shows or whatever you watch, people that can see the dead speak to them. With Odd, he says the dead can't speak, but they are able to kind of show him what they want him to know. And he uses this ability to help people and actually uses it to help save his town and eventually help save pretty much the world. He goes on a very long adventure, and it all starts with the original Odd Thomas book. And as you can tell, this is a very worn copy. There are several books in the series. I own every one of them. I've read all of them multiple times. They're all on my bookshelf up there. But if you haven't checked out Odd Thomas before, by all means, go pick it up. You won't be disappointed. And they also, I think it was in 2014, 2015, they actually made a movie out of the Odd Thomas series. And I don't know, maybe it's just the book lover or the writer in me. Of course, the movie couldn't come close to the book, but it was still an excellent adaptation with some great writing in it and really great actors. It's worth checking out. So by all means, go take a peek at that too. But let's go ahead and get into this. Chapter 1. My name is Odd Thomas, though in this age, when fame is the altar which most people worship, I am not sure why you should care who I am or that I exist. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not the child of a celebrity. I have never been married to, never been abused by, and never provided a kidney for transplantation into any celebrity. Furthermore, I have no desire to be a celebrity. In fact, I am such a non-entity by the standards of our culture that People magazine not only will never feature a piece about me, but might also reject my attempts to subscribe to the publication on the grounds that the black hole gravity of my non-celebrity is powerful enough to suck their entire enterprise into oblivion. I am 20 years old. To a world-wise adult, I am little more than a child. To any child, however, I'm old enough to be distrusted, to be excluded forever from the magical community of the short and beardless. Consequently, a demographics expert might conclude that my sole audience is other young men and women currently adrift between their 20th and 21st birthdays. In truth, I have nothing to say to that narrow audience. In my experience, I don't care about most of the things that other 20-year-old Americans care about, except survival, of course. I lead an unusual life. By this, I do not mean that my life is any better than yours. I'm sure that your life is filled with as much happiness, charm, wonder, and abiding fear as anyone could wish. Like me, you're human after all. And we know what a joy and a terror that is. I love that line. I've always loved that line. I mean, only that my life is not typical. Peculiar things happen to me that don't happen to other people with regularity, if ever. For example, I would never have written this memoir if I had not been commanded to do so by a 400-pound man with 6 fingers on his left hand. His name is P. Oswald Boone. Everyone calls him Little Ozzy because his father, Big Ozzy, is still alive. Little Ozzy has a cat named Terrible Chester. He loves that cat. In fact, if Terrible Chester were to use up his 9th life under the wheels of a Peterbilt, I'm afraid that Little Ozzy's big heart would not survive the loss. Personally, I do not have great affection for Terrible Chester because, for one thing, he has on several occasions peed on my shoes. His reason for doing so, as explained by Ozzy, seems credible, but I'm not convinced of his truthfulness. I mean to say that I am suspicious of Terrible Chester's veracity, not Ozzy's. Besides, I simply cannot fully trust a cat who claims to be 58 years old. Although photographic evidence exists to support this claim, I persist in believing that it's bogus. For reasons that will become very obvious, this manuscript cannot be published during my lifetime, and my effort will not be repaid with royalties while I'm alive. Little Ozzy suggests that I should leave my literary estate to the loving maintenance of Terrible Chester, who, according to him, will outlive all of us. I will choose another charity, one that has not peed on me. Anyway, I'm not writing this for money. I'm writing it to save my sanity and to discover if I can convince myself that my life has purpose and meaning enough to justify continued existence. Don't worry, these ramblings will not be insufferably gloomy. P. Oswald Boone has sternly instructed me to keep the tone light. If you don't keep it light, Ozzy said, I'll set my 400-pound ass on you, and that's not the way you want to die. Ozzy is bragging. His ass, while grand enough, probably weighs no more than 150 pounds. The other 200... excuse me, throat. The other 250 are distributed across the rest of his suffering skeleton. When at first I proved unable to keep the tone light, Ozzy suggested that I be an unreliable narrator. It worked for Agatha Christie in The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, he said. In that first-person mystery novel, the nice guy narrator turns out to be the murderer of Roger Ackroyd, a fact he conceals from the reader until the end. Understand, I am not a murderer. I have done nothing evil that I am concealing from you. My unreliability as a narrator has to do largely with the tense of certain verbs. Don't worry about it. You'll know the truth soon enough. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of my story. Little Ozzy and Terrible Chester do not enter the picture until after the cow explodes. This story begins on a Tuesday. For you, that is the day after Monday. For me, it is a day that, like the other 6, brims with the potential for mystery, adventure, and terror. You should not take this to mean that my life is romantic and magical. Too much mystery is merely an annoyance. Too much adventure is exhausting. And a little terror goes a long way. Without the help of an alarm clock, I woke up that Tuesday morning at 5 from a dream about dead bowling alley employees. I never set the alarm because my internal clock is so reliable. If I wish to wake promptly at 5, then before going to bed I tell myself 3 times that I must be awake sharply at 4:45. While reliable, my internal clock for some reason runs 15 minutes slow. I learned this years ago and just adjusted to the problem. The dream about the dead bowling alley employees has troubled my sleep once or twice a month for 3 years. The details are not yet specific enough to act upon. I'll have to wait and hope the clarification doesn't come to me too late. So I woke up at 5, sat up in bed, and said, "Spare me that I may serve," which is the morning prayer that my Granny Sugars taught me to say when I was little. Pearl Sugars was my mother's mother. If she had been my father's mother, my name would be Odd Sugars, further complicating my life. Granny Sugars believed in bargaining with God. She called him the old rug merchant. Before every poker game, she promised God to spread his holy word or to share her good fortune with orphans in return for a few unbeatable hands. Throughout her life, winnings from card games remained a significant source of income. Being a hard-drinking woman with numerous interests in addition to poker, Granny Sugars didn't always spend as much time spreading God's word as she promised him that she would. She believed that God expected to be conned more often than not, and that he would be a good sport about it. You can con God and get away with it, Granny said, if you do so with charm and wit. If you live your life with imagination and verve, God will play along just to see what outrageously interesting thing you'll do next. He'll also cut you some slack if you're astonishingly stupid in an amusing fashion. Granny claimed that this explains why uncountable millions of breathtakingly stupid people get along just fine in life. Of course, in the process, you must never do harm to others in any serious way, or you'll cease to amuse him. Then payment comes due for the promises you didn't keep. Okay, that's just a little short reading from Thomas by Dean Koontz. I may do another one or two out of either this installment of Thomas or maybe one of the others. Like I said, it is a wonderful book. You really should check it out, and also take the time to go watch the movie. It's entertaining, and it's actually something you can watch with your whole family. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch y'all soon. Bye bye.